All right, we are here at the Data and Analytics Summit, Gartner in UK, and I am here with one and only my very good friend Malcolm Hawker, the head of data strategy at Profisee. I'm here to discuss about data and analytics, data governance, semantic layer, and much more with him. So without any further ado, first of all, Malcolm, very much excited to interview you today, and welcome to the Ravit show.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. You're a legend on LinkedIn. I've been following you a long time. You do an amazing job. All the content you share day in and day out. Thank you for that. You're helping raise the knowledge and expertise of everybody online, so thank you. Excited to be here, excited to be part of the Gartner event.
Yeah. Malcolm is very kind to say that, so thank you very much. Malcolm, for our audience, why not introduce yourself?
Well, you just did it. I'm Malcolm. I'm the head of data strategy at Profisee Software. My primary function is as an evangelist.
Yeah.
We firmly believe that a rising tide will lift all boats. Meaning, if I'm out on LinkedIn, or if I'm on YouTube, or if I'm on any social channel, it doesn't matter, and I'm sharing what I know. After 30 years of being in the data and analytics space, after being a Gartner analyst, after running an IT organization, I've got a lot of information about what works and what doesn't work. So I'm out there on LinkedIn helping people, telling people, hey, you should think about this, you should think about that. I try to avoid talking about vendors, I try to avoid talking about specific technology choices, and just talk about best practices, what works, what doesn't work. Yes, I work for a software company, and I hope that if they have a need around master data management, they'll consider Profisee, but my job is to help data and analytics leaders succeed.
This is amazing, you know, having that neutral voice, and there are very less people that I see around. Also, where you're coming from, you've been with Gartner, it kind of puts you in that place, but at the same time, even now, you have that voice where, you know, it's not that the data community doesn't know you. Everyone kind of goes out and knows you and, you know, love the knowledge that you're sharing for the community. So thanks once again for doing that. But that also brings me to another interesting question. Since you've been in this space for like more than 30 years, obviously.
Real gray hair.
So that kind of, you know, puts me in a place where I can definitely ask you, I'm sure you've seen the evolution of data space very, very, you know, from the early stages itself. So would love to learn about what do you think about this space and where do you see it going in the next 2 to 3 years?
It is a great time to be in the data and analytics space. I am totally excited.
Yeah.
I'm also slightly terrified. AI, you know, there's a lot of things we just don't know yet about that. But it's a great time to be in this space, and it's a great time to be a thought leader. It's a great time to be a data leader to help your organization navigate through a lot of complexity. There's a lot of changes to technologies.
Right.
There's a lot of hype. You and I see the hype every day on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype around data mesh, around data fabric, data observability, all of these things.
Exactly.
There's value in all of these things, but it depends on the use case. It depends on where you are from a maturity perspective as a data and analytics organization. So there's a lot of value. And there's a lot of decisions to be made, and there's a lot of evolving technology. You put all these things together, that means we desperately need leadership in the data space.
Yeah.
To help navigate through all of this. What matters, what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And to apply a strategy, I'm a big believer in data strategy. We both have friends in the data strategy space that we talk to every day. That's an important part of it, but more important, I don't want to say more important, equally important, is actually the ability to execute. That's kind of where I come in. I talk about strategy.
Right.
But what most of the data leaders I find really struggle with is the jump between strategy and get it done.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where I come in, which is because I've done it. I've been there, and you know, how do I implement a data fabric? How do I implement a data mesh? How do I take my strategy and make it real? That's what I think the next 2 to 3 years are going to be kind of a put up or shut up time, as we say in English, for CDOs. Because companies have invested a lot in data and analytics functions and in the CDO. And over the next 2 to 3 years, it's about making those things real. Making the mesh real. Making the fabric real.
Wow.
How do you do that without getting too distracted by AI and too distracted by all of the hype? Because there's value there. And these are great solutions to very complex problems. You just need to figure out the how.
Yeah. No, I think these are great points, definitely. You are kind of out there now, you know, the executor, and making the things happen, and you know, no more it's about, you know, just talking, but application kind of matters the most in this era. So you're kind of bridging that gap very well. So
I hope so. That's the goal.
That's well done. That brings me to another, just shifting our gears a little bit here in terms of, I know you've been out there and have tons of knowledge around the data governance space.
Yep.
Can you tell us more about how the data governance space is evolving? And obviously with AI as well, there's a lot of interest in the data governance. Now it's much more important than ever. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, it's more important than it's ever been before because there's more, as our friend Scott Taylor says, there's more data than there ever has been before.
Exactly.
And there will be more data tomorrow than there ever was before because
so
it's
true.
tomorrow, right? So governance is as critical as it's ever been, but it remains a huge challenge for most organizations, right? Most organizations have a hard time in translating the importance of governance into actual business outcomes. What is the connection between me governing data, defining data policies, understanding data quality, focusing on MDM or any other data management solution, and the delivery of value? And this is where a lot of data leaders struggle today with governance, but we are seeing some movement here. We're finally seeing some folks actually focus on building business cases, ROI analysis, tying governance to those business outcomes.
Right.
So this is so important, especially as we kind of continue to double down on data and analytics, continue to understand the importance of digital transformations, continue to understand all of these things. Governance is critical. Now, where it's going in the future is all about what Gartner would call augmented capabilities, what my company would call adaptive capabilities. Gartner would also say that as well. They have a notion called adaptive data governance. And what that is that it basically the acknowledgement that context matters. That the way that somebody in marketing looks at data is different than the way that somebody in finance looks at data, and they can both be right at the same time.
Exactly.
And that's the context we're talking about. And do you have systems and processes and tools that can adapt between this use case and that use case? Do you have a data governance operating model that can adapt between those worlds? I think AI will help bridge those worlds. I think it can help act as maybe a little bit of a semantic layer. To a certain degree. It's not going to solve for all of that, but figuring out how to do both. It's not an either or. It's not a singular governance model. It is figuring out how to be contextually driven because that's what your clients need. That's what your customers want.
No, I think these are fantastic insights that you're sharing, Malcolm, and definitely brings up a lot of questions for a lot of companies who are still looking out for the data governance and how it could be implemented, and reach out to Malcolm for that. I'm pretty sure he's out there, helping a lot of companies and making those strides and helping them to get to the next level. But you spoke about semantic layer, and I remember one of your posts about MDM and semantic layer, which was
I went like this.
Yes, and the and the whole data community knows about it, right? So I would love to, learn a little about what are your thoughts about semantic layer and why is it picking up so quickly and why is it hot?
Well, first and foremost, if you think about, my post was about the difference between MDM and semantic layer, master data management and the semantic layer. And the first thing we need to clear up, it's not an either or. For most companies, it's going to be a both, because they both can play a very, very important role. Now, one of our other friends online, Juan Sequeda, explains the difference between a semantic layer and MDM. Semantic layers focus on linking or mapping of data at a schema level, whereas MDM focuses more on a field level or an attribute level, which seems like a nuancy difference, but it's not. Core difference here is that MDM is very, very operational in nature, and it would allow you to link across multiple variables across your core business nouns that matter. That's the way Scott Taylor describes MDM. The nouns that matter. It'll allow you to apply very, very complex business logic, very, very complex business rules, data quality rules, data standardization rules, to be able to allow you to create a gold master record that is used everywhere. Semantic layers will allow you to link across tables, to link across schemas, to solve generally for fairly complex analytical use cases. So both can help address a single version of the truth problem. But semantic layers tend to be very analytical in focus. Very data pipeline in focus, whereas MDM tends to be a little more operational in nature. If you're trying to get that single gold master record into a CRM system,
Yeah.
Publish it into a CRM system, that's the domain of MDM. So both of these tools can actually make each other better. It's
Very
not
cool.
an either or.
Okay, this is amazing, good differentiation out there, but at the same time, obviously, you've got them to a level where now we know it's MDM, semantic layer, and you kind of put it in the easiest words, and that's one of the reasons people, kind of connected with your post out there. And
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
It's amazing. All right, I know, you have many plans about Profisee, but I'm looking to understand and learn more about Profisee in terms of what's coming up in the next 1 to 2 years, how are you looking at it, and how are you solving those problems for your enterprise customers?
Yeah, we're working on some really exciting stuff. Thank you for asking. I am on a mission to have my company really disrupt the MDM space.
Wow.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about kind of modern MDM and different ways of approaching MDM that have really been driven by differences in how data is persisted or how data is processed.
Right.
But historically, MDM was all about the kind of the business conforming to a single rule or a single version of the truth or a single gold master table. And what we want to do is disrupt that and start pushing MDM, you could say, to the edge.
Exactly.
Where you could be matching data wherever it resides. Instead of bringing all the data into a single bucket, we could be matching data wherever it resides.
Yeah.
Stewarding data wherever it resides. Applying the business rules wherever it resides. So you could envision MDM in the future becoming kind of more of a capability that is just baked into how we create data.
Very true.
To stop the flow of garbage in once and for all. To leverage AI, to leverage some of these new technologies, including some of the things I was talking about with adaptive governance, to get to the point where MDM is just kind of hardwired in. It's just how it's just how we do business. Another way that I think about it is if you can use your phone to talk in and say, to a translator tool and say, take me to the airport, and it repeats something back in Japanese. Right? You didn't have to, even though they were consuming the data in Japanese, you didn't have to have anybody steward the data along the way. There was nobody like retyping the data in Japanese.
Yeah, right.
It's a really high-level way of thinking about how MDM could operate in the future, where just in-stream, in a transaction stream, as you're entering it, it could be transformed and made into what you needed to fuel the correct decision or to fuel an operational outcome or to enable any business process downstream. So the way we consider MDM, I think, is going to be different in the future.
Oh, this is amazing. I think very good point, and I'm pretty sure Profisee is kind of doing all the best things, and I think the plan to disrupt the industry,
I would love it.
It's in the safe hands, I can see that.
Well, so, I hope so. I hope so. We're even talking about things like, is MDM the right label? Is master data management the right label?
Yeah.
And you've seen me on LinkedIn ask, like, is it time to change, this
is it old?
word?
Yeah.
And it seems like it's about 60-40. Most of the people are like, no, it works. Why change the name? There's a lot of people on LinkedIn are like, why change names? We're always coming up with new names for stuff all the time.
We've got enough, right?
Yeah, we've got enough names. For heaven's sake, quit changing names. And I got to agree. I mean, I'm tired of kind of the new names for old stuff. So anyway.
No, this is amazing. Yesterday I saw your talk, and there were like 200 plus people joining you at there.
It was wild.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about your talk yesterday, and why did it create that impact that, everyone's out there wanting to listen to Malcolm, and not like people don't want to listen to you, but...
I don't know, man. So I happen to think it wasn't for me. My name was on the marquee, but I was only speaking for about 5 minutes. I was introducing one of our clients, which is Nestle Purina.
Very good.
And they were sharing their story of MDM. And I think that why it resonated is because MDM is viewed as this kind of big, kind of high-risk, disruptive, multi-year-long process, and it doesn't have to be. And you had a company the size of Nestle Purina, this massive company that was talking about getting value from MDM in literally weeks, and in a way that actually resonated, because the use case was they created a vet 360, like veterinarian 360, and a pet 360. Like they're creating a gold master record for like rabbits and fish, and well, nobody takes a fish to the vet. That's probably a bad example, but rabbits and cats and dogs, and so it's a very approachable use case. It's very easy to understand. Like, oh, okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a big company that's doing things pretty quickly.
Nice.
So it was easy for me to kind of get up and share the story and introduce the speaker, who was Pam Jordan, who was awesome.
Nice.
But I think it's those examples, and this is kind of a lesson for all data and analytics leaders. Like, how do you make your story, again, getting back to our friend Scott Taylor, how do you make your story approachable and understandable and relatable? Right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a pet.
Right.
And we told a story about how MDM could help improve your pet health.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, to me, that's like a layup, right? Like, that's a natural, because everybody's got pets, and we want to hear stories, and we're not talking about data quality, we're not talking about, all the kind of the nuts and bolts of data management, which are important, but no, it was a great talk. I was excited to be there. I was a Gartner analyst for 3 years.
Exactly.
And I love these events. Gartner trained me as a speaker,
yes,
so I owe it to some of them for my ability to do it. But it was a lot of fun. I was glad to be there.
Oh, amazing! I love these insights, Malcolm, and I'm pretty sure the audience joining us today as well, they would love to learn more about data governance, Profisee, about MDM, and many more things that you kind of share with the community. Having that vendor agnostic voice, which is very rare that I see. I kind of run on the same direction, so I can feel you. But if folks want to reach out to you, learn more about what these topics, about who you are, where can they reach out to you?
Well, I live right next door to you in LinkedIn land.
Awesome.
Right. So number one thing, LinkedIn. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. There's only 3 Malcolm Hawkers on the planet, if you spell my name correctly with a second L. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I would be thrilled if you checked out my podcast. It's the CDO Matters podcast.
Yes.
So every 2 weeks I'm publishing new content, and my entire goal is to increase the tenures of chief data officers, or to help people who want to be chief data officers.
Wow, yeah.
So I've got a podcast on your channel of choice, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, so I'd love it if you check out the podcast. But LinkedIn is the easiest place to find me, because I'm right there commenting on your stuff and supporting other thought leaders on LinkedIn just like you. Yeah,
this is amazing, Malcolm. And thank you once again for doing this. It was such a pleasure to host you finally.
Wonderful.
To meet you here, and can't wait to obviously collaborate more and bring more insights to our community and grow in the same space.
Let's do it. I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ravit. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.